Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Wookieepedia at YouTube with another model video reviewing, building and finishing the Star Wars Super Star Destroyer depicting the Executor-class that we see in the original trilogy model. The plastic kit is Snap, came out about late 2019 and is roughly displayed at 1/100,000 scale. The box and model itself is much larger compared to the other mini vehicle series. However, it is also a lot more expensive. This one retailing in Australia from the distributor even out at approximately $25. So you're definitely looking around the 1,500 yen mark if bought overseas. It's a bit of a buster, but being the only Super Star Destroyer that's depicted in scale model form in an accurate sense, it's almost a must grab. The box pretty much follows the same conservative rig of the instructions printed in the reverse side of the cover of the box, with plenty of promotional material, instructions and not much of a colour guide throughout the different tabs and sides. Inside the box you are greeted with a plastic bag containing 3 styrene or ABS runners. The large white ones depict the entirety of the starship, 2 major halves of the large wedge with a bunch of detail and thrusters, and 1 black base that's very generic and comes with all the mini vehicle series. All snap fits. The instructions, however, are not as simple or a casual sit down in front of the TV affair, and the amount of over cluttering detail on the surface and underneath requires you to line up very identical detailed pieces in the right slot as a snap fit. This is more of a fault of the design of the source material, more so than the model kit. I almost felt that the Imperial class Star Destroyer vehicle set 1 was almost the perfect build and an excellent introduction to this series of models. I come across to feel a little more disappointed in the overall look and layout of this model. It's very plain in the ultra white grey plastic opposed to the fantastic shading colours that you see in the source material and box art. I'm also a tad disappointed in the seam line on the very top. That definitely needs to be covered, but nothing a bit of basic scale model skills and a lot of airbrush and fun can't fix. Maybe not ideal as a collectible snap toy, but definitely something to push harder for the painters and tinkerers. However, in the initial snap build, where this model does lack in that wow factor and fun snapping along like a gunpla kit, it definitely makes up for in detail, and there is so much damn detail in this thing. When I'm assembling parts, I'm struggling to tell the difference between peg and connecting joints and what is external detail to make up this entirety of the craft. Once it's all together, you can definitely see the potential and the playworthy of brushing this up into all sorts of different fun colour and shading schemes. In a scale modelling sense, I plastic cemented every bit of detail in so I wouldn't have to dismantle it again. If other people were to do more of a simplistic paint job with rattle cans and hand painting, ideally you want to go for a much darker grey to show shadowing from space and a far away camera angle, rather than something you'd paint a Millennium Falcon, a X-Wing or a Star Destroyer a very light grey or multiple tones. I'd put some masking and make the cityscape quite dark, the top a little lighter and underneath a very dark blue or various shades of smoke and grey. It's a sort of approach I went for, but purely shading with the airbrush. All snapped together. Very impressed with the overall look and the proportions. However, as is, definitely a bit boring. The model took 2 days to build, the majority of the snapping, a couple of hours to focus on removing the nubs. Even the slightest bit of imperfection there will make a part not slot in properly for that over cladded detail look. Everything was flush sanded. The seam was filled with Mr. Dissolved putty and sanded up the next day, following to the whole painting stage in airbrushing in lacquers. The model was sprayed while still on its base with Tamiya Surface Grey primer, and various dark, medium and light greys by Mr. Colour were selected to layer on top of each other, first focusing on a dark black aspect on the inner city build-up and shading outwards, and then going lighter for the outer deck. To neaten it all up so it didn't have that gradient airbrush line, a touch of hand painting was deployed. To make everything pop, it is all in the weathering, and that was purely done through a few shades of sludge washes in enamel or oil colours. Looking at some source material in the instructions, I found the underneath and the thrusters to be very fun and playful in getting the afterburner effects. May not be perfect, but pops nice enough with a few layers of wash and a dusting on the metallic and pearlescent blue at the back for the thruster flare as it's flying out there in space. Definitely had a lot of fun painting it. Made the bottom end with liquid smoke and being playful as dark as possible to show those stop shots from Star Wars with the rest of the fleet underneath the Executor-class, and the top being a lot light and something more appealing to look at when displayed on tables and whatnot. The base was painted black with a decal placed on and sealed with a clear surfacer, and once all the oils and weathering products are dried on the actual kit itself and left to dry and harden for a few days, that was also top coated with a very dead flat clear lacquer matte. There really is no conventional way of displaying, building, finishing a Star Wars kit with how wide the universe and source material is in books, legends, video games, the core movies. You can go as far as you really want, and it's all about the colouring, the shading, the weathering on a lot of these characters and vehicles. There's no wrong way, even in alternative schemes or something that comes out of your own imagination. Even if you're to go for a more of a manga black and white look or something more extreme in an anime tone, video game tone, 8-bit tone, it goes on, and sometimes you can even cross them with other mediums or military World War II schemes, Duke of Hazard cover, an anime scheme of girl decals placed all across it. I've almost seen it all, and to be honest, it all works. If you're an airbrusher or hand painter, with the amount of effort and work you put in, a Star Wars kit will pop no matter what. I think it's just that medium that if you enjoy the source material, it's definitely something you can dive into and play. The kits are not as hard or not readily available to get anymore, as Bandai has their claws all over it, and they're very easy to build. It just has no gatekeeping anymore, and I'm looking forward to definitely getting more the larger 70-second kits and going a bit more all out, especially the figurative ones in diorama settings. I slightly regret making the top a tad too light and not gradienting it further on the four sides of the wedges. Fairly pleased with how it all pops. That action base definitely makes the whole thing more dynamic on how you pose it, and can take photos of it in a photo booth. You can get a lot of those cinematic photos, put a star pattern background or a green screen and just go really far with your trick photography. All in all, expensive. If you're a fan of this particular vehicle, go for it. If you're just buying up random kits to snap together, maybe not the best from the miniature vehicle set. Nonetheless, more than happy with what I've got here. Thank you very much for watching as always. Until next time, stay tuned for further content. Check out the description section down below on reference material from Wookieepedia, all of my social media links, work in progresses, that sort of thing. Catch you guys next time, and we'll look at doing maybe another larger Star Wars vehicle sometimes this year. Catch you guys next time.